our new offensive line coach is Geep Wade. Now, this is a guy who's he's on multiple stops. He's had multiple offensive lines that have been up for the Joe Moore Award. Joe Moore Award semifinalist, top 10 offensive line in the country at Georgia Tech in the last couple of years when he was at App State. They were in that conversation as well. He has coached 21 all-conference players. 5 offensive linemen that have gone on to play in the National Football League. Just this past season, Georgia Tech's offensive line, their run blocking grade ranked 6th nationally in yards. Run blocking ranked 6th nationally in yards before contact per design runs, and ranked 12th when it came to run blocking grades in total offense, top 15, over 7 yards a play. And everything, as we know, starts up front. Georgia Tech football ranked 5th nationally in sacks allowed. And let me see. Oh, they gave up as many sacks this entire season as Nebraska gave up to our aforementioned good buddies up in Minneapolis in one game. 9. So people ask me, Adam, Georgia Tech's a run-first offense. I'm aware of that. Well, Adam, if all they do is run the ball, they're not going to give up many sacks. Okay. They're not Army. They're not Navy. They're not Air Force. Now, they used to be, not long ago, but no, because there was 4 schools in the country that ran that offense, Army, Navy, Air Force, Georgia Tech. That's been a half decade ago. They have moved on from that. Do you know why they're a run-first offense? Because they run the ball better than they throw it. Their offensive line creates openings. There's holes for them to run through. They don't even have great running backs. They have decent running backs, but not great running backs. I'll be honest with you. You put Emmett Johnson behind that line. He's bordering. I don't want to say he's going to be like a 2,000-yard back, but like he's getting close to things that would have not only put him as a Doak Walker finalist, but probably a Heisman finalist in New York. Okay. So they ran the ball more. Also, Haynes King, their quarterback, runs the ball well. He throws the ball well, but he runs the ball well. So they took advantage of what they had. Their offensive line's a good run blocking offensive line. They're physical. It's no nonsense. This is how they're coached. This is who they've been for a couple of years. They led the ACC in rushing a year ago. It kind of flew under the radar. If you remember, I mentioned that on this show a couple of times in the offseason. Now, I didn't talk about Georgia Tech a ton because we get to general college football, but not always. But in the preseason, I said Texas Tech's going to win the Big 12. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember mentioning Clemson. Did not pan out so well. But I said Clemson's going to win the ACC and Georgia Tech's going to play in the ACC championship game because they can run the ball so well and they don't beat themselves. I got both those teams completely wrong. It was Duke and Virginia. Who under God's hot sun saw that coming? By the way, Clemson and Penn State, you know where they're playing? They're playing in a bowl game. Preseason number 2, preseason number 4. You know where they're playing?
I do.
Well, say it.
In New York.
The Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah.
It is now a major bowl game, and Nebraska is the team that set that tone. I'm just going to say it right now. We made the Pinstripe Bowl, not Boston College, not anybody else who's ever played in it. It's also not a major bowl game, but we made it a major bowl game, and that's why Clemson and Penn State, after terrible seasons, wanted to play there, okay? It's actually going to be an intriguing bowl game. Like, what's going to happen with you two in this game right now? Because you're so talented. You should be a top seeds in the CFP, yet here you are playing in a baseball stadium. All right, back to Georgia Tech. So I did not know who. In fact, at first, I may have pronounced his name as Geep. Obviously, I got corrected with that. Geep Wade, I was not familiar with him. I was more familiar with Georgia Tech, the offensive line, and then I learned about Geep Wade. You look at his resume. This is a very good hire. He has a fairly lengthy career of coaching offensive lines, over 20 years. There is multiple stops with multiple places of success, whether it be multiple offensive lines up for the Joe Moore Award semifinalists in the conversation, especially midseason, multiple guys going on to the NFL, multiple guys all conference. Now, has he done it in the Big 2? He's done it Power 4. Has he done it in the Big 2? No, not necessarily. I don't know how big of that deal that is. At least he's been in the Power 4. He's done it multiple stops, multiple years. Helped Georgia Tech become a team that's in the conversation for the CFP when this was a team that was an afterthought and it was just all about the Georgia Bulldogs. And 2 years in a row, they've been within one possession of beating their in-state rivals. And the offensive line was a huge part of that. So I actually feel very good about this hire. You got any final thoughts before we move on to the insane asylum that has become college football and the college football playoff?
No, I actually really like the hire too. And if you're doing the counting, which we like to do, he has been an offensive coordinator too. So, as we like to count our former offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators on staff.
Five former offensive coordinators on staff. Go ahead.
So there you go. But, it's about consistency too in those categories. People look at this past year and like you said, you can have your outliers. You can say Haynes King is doing a lot of the dirty work behind these stats, but led the ACC in fewest sacks 3 years in a row, and was top 2 in rushing each of the last 3 seasons. That sounds like a pretty good resume coming on.
Hey, talk for a couple more seconds. I'm gonna look something up.
Yeah, no. So I'm excited about that. Obviously, we talked about Geep Wade, 4th in the nation, as you mentioned this last year, with just 9 sacks given up all year. Also, this past year, and I don't know if he's going to get it this year, but the year before on that Georgia Tech offensive line was an All-American. He returned to be an All-Conference player. So just at Georgia Tech, he's had 3 seasons. 5 different offensive linemen awarded with all-conference honors 7 different times. You look back at the last 3 seasons for the all-conference recognition on the offensive line for Nebraska, I'm not sure you're going to find that number. So I think it's, again, I think this is a guy that really, look where you struggled, find the guy that's got a history of doing it and showing it. And it's at Georgia Tech again. So I think part of it is, how do we develop? How do we get these guys going? If you can translate that from Georgia Tech, you should be able to do it at Nebraska as well.
So the past 13 games, Georgia Tech has thrown the ball 412 times, been sacked 9 times. That's less than 1%. They average 32 pass attempts a game. They give up an average of 0.69 sacks a game. You feel better about that? Because that was the big question I got. No, they're not Army, Navy, Air Force, but let me look this up. So I feel better.
That's more than I expected, yeah.
Now, does it guarantee It doesn't guarantee a freaking thing. But when you're trying to project how you feel about a hire, and you got to see how it unfolds, same thing with the defensive coordinator, all you have to look at is what's happened in the past, and that makes me feel decent, at least as we sit here, right now.